Hello. This video presentation begins our study of solving radical equations. This will be continued after spring break. And this will not, let me repeat, will not be on Friday's quiz. Radical equations will take several different forms. Radical equations. Some will have a square root equaling a number. Some will have a square root equaling a variable, or a binomial. These will result in quadratic equations. Quadratic equations. And some will look like a square root equals a square root, and others will be a square root equals a square root plus a number or variable. These are the most complex right here, and we won't be looking at them right away. But the others are relatively simple. When we solve quadratic equations, sometimes we have what's called extraneous solutions. Extraneous solutions. Think of them as bad answers. Because of this, we always check. Always show the check. If you have two answers, you have to do the check twice. All right? But we're always going to do a check. So let's look at a very simple equation and then a couple that aren't so simple. Let's start off with square root of 12 minus 2x equals square root of x plus 3. We begin by squaring both sides. And we end up with 12 minus 2x equals x plus 3. And now we solve this linear equation. I'm going to add 2x to both sides. I'm going to subtract 3. And I end up with 3x equals 9. Divide by 3. X is equal to 3. My check in the original equation, 12 minus 2 times 3 equals square root of 3 plus 3. 12 minus 6, square root of 6, equals 3 plus 3, square root of 6, and it checks. We're good to go. Rather simple equation. Now we're going to look at something a little more complex. All right, our equation is going to be x minus the square root of 3 minus 2x equals 0. First rule, always isolate the radical. If you don't, it's not going to work. So I'm going to isolate the radical. I'm going to add plus radical 3 minus 2x plus radical 3 minus 2x. And we end up with x equals square root of 3 minus 2x. Now what we do is we get rid of the square root. This is step one. We square both sides. Square both sides. Just like we did before, we took the square root of both sides. Now we square both sides. Do not do this. You will lose points. You must use parentheses. Have to have parentheses, otherwise it means nothing. All right, now we have x squared equals 3 minus 2x. And then we solve. This is a quadratic equation. We spent a lot of time this year on quadratic equations. Let's not jump the gun here. Want to set it equal to 0, so we add 2x and subtract 3. Add 2x, subtract 3. And we end up with x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals 0. You can use the quadratic formula. You can factor. You can complete the square. I don't care. These will be always set up to easily factor. So we have x and x, 3 plus and minus 1. Check with our double smiley. 3x minus 1x, positive 2x, it checks. And then we set each factor equal to 0. X equals 1, and x equals negative 3. Lastly, we check. All right, let's go over these steps one more time. Isolate the radical. Get rid of the square root by squaring both sides. Solve the equation that's left. And finally, check your answer. So we check in the original equation, x minus the square root of 3 minus 2x. That's my original equation, equals 0. So we start with 1 minus the square root of 3 minus 2 times 1. 1 minus the square root of 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 minus 1. 0 is equal to 0. It checks. Next one, 1 minus the square root of 3 minus 2 times negative 3. 1 minus square root of 3 plus 6. 1 minus the square root of 9. And 1 minus 3. Negative 2 is not equal to 0. It's an extraneous solution. Cross it off. Our answer is 1. All right? Use the curly brackets and make sure you show your check. All right, let's do one more just to make sure we understand this completely and to review solving equations. All right, here's our equation. Step 1, isolate the radical, minus 2. So we get the square root of x plus 4 equals x minus 2. We square both sides using parentheses, and we end up with x plus 4 equals x minus 2 times x minus 2. This squared means we're multiplying what's in the parentheses times itself twice. And we're going to have to do binomial multiplication. X squared minus 2x minus 2x plus 4. And now we solve this. We have x plus 4 equals x squared minus 4x plus 4. Ah, that's nice. Those 4's are going to cancel. Minus x minus 4 minus x minus 4. And we come up with 0 equals x squared minus 5x. Super easy to factor. X and x minus 5. All we're doing is some distribution there, reverse distribution, and we end up with x equals 0 or x equals 5. Well, it appears that way. Now we're going to do our check. The original equation was 2 plus the square root of x plus 4 equals x. Put in 0. 2 plus square root of 0 plus 4 equals 0. 2 plus the square root of 4. 2 plus 2. 4 is not equal to 0. So let's erase this x equals 0. Actually, I shouldn't have done this at all. Should have started with x equals 0 or x equals 5. Our second check, I'm running out of space here. Do it over here. 2 plus the square root of 5 plus 4 is equal to x, which is 5. 2 plus the square root of 9. 2 plus 3. 5 indeed is equal to 5. It checks. We're good to go. Our final answer then is 5. All right? Make sure you do the check exactly like I've done it here. No shortcuts on doing our check. Absolutely none. All right, have a great day. This is the last video before we start our vacation. For those leaving early, have a great vacation. Well, everybody, whether you're leaving early or not, have a great vacation. Talk to you later. Have a good one.